Chekhov, Moscow region, 65 kilometers south of the Kremlin. It's a little past 2 in the morning, and a night shift forklift driver named Igor is stacking pallets of phone cases and winter boots when the air raid siren starts. He's heard it before. Everyone in this town has heard it before. He steps outside for a smoke, looks up, and doesn't see anything. No lights, no engine sound, nothing. He goes back inside. 4 minutes later, the roof of his warehouse is on fire. This is not a missile strike on a military base. There's no barracks here, no runway, no air defense radar. It's a logistics hub for Wildberries, Russia's biggest online retailer, the company that ships you a phone charger or a pair of socks in 2 days. The same company whose founder is the richest woman in the country. And over the last 3 weeks, Ukraine has hit 15 of these buildings. 15. Somewhere in a command post inside Ukraine, a man named Robert Brovdy, call sign Magyar, commander of Ukraine's unmanned systems forces, has a map. On that map, dots are lighting up across 4 Russian regions: Moscow, Leningrad, Vladimir, Nizhny Novgorod. Each dot used to be a place Russia considered untouchable, hundreds of kilometers from anything resembling a front line. Now every one of them is burning, and the question nobody in Moscow wants to ask out loud is simple. How did an e-commerce warehouse become a wartime target, and why didn't anyone see it coming? To understand that, you have to understand what Wildberries actually is inside Russia. It's not just Amazon, it's closer to a state-adjacent logistics backbone, one of the largest employers in the country, moving tens of millions of packages a month through a network of regional hubs that double as sorting, storage, and distribution nodes for anything that needs to move fast across Russian territory. That includes drone components. It includes body armor. According to Ukrainian intelligence assessments, some of these facilities have been quietly repurposed, or were never purely civilian to begin with, to store and route military and dual-use cargo for Russia's Northwestern Federal District and beyond. The European Union apparently reached a similar conclusion back in July, when it sanctioned Wildberries' banking arm for its financial contribution to the Russian state budget. Poland went further years earlier, in 2022, calling the company the largest taxpayer in the Russian Federation when it first placed sanctions on it. So when Brovdy's forces started hitting these warehouses, they weren't picking a random soft target for shock value. They were pulling on a thread. If the logistics network doubles as a military supply chain, then burning it isn't a symbolic gesture. It's attrition, the same as hitting a fuel depot or an ammunition dump, just wearing a different uniform. The strike on the Krasny Bor facility outside St. Petersburg is the clearest example. It's not a small building. We're talking about roughly 154,000 square meters, enough space to store more than 57 million items at once, sitting in the Tosno district, about 850 kilometers from Ukraine's border. Firepoint, the Ukrainian manufacturer behind the FP-1 long-range attack drone, confirmed its own aircraft carried out that strike, and said plainly that the site was used, among other things, to distribute military and dual-use goods for the entire northwestern region of Russia. Read that again. A drone built in Ukraine flew 850 kilometers, found a warehouse the size of a small airport, and set it on fire. And this wasn't a one-off. It was hub number 13 or 14 on a list that, as of this week, has 15 confirmed entries. If the Wildberries campaign is about strangling supply lines, the other half of this story is about something more direct: fuel. The Syzran oil refinery sits in Russia's Samara region, more than 800 kilometers from the war zone. It belongs to Rosneft. It processes 8.9 million tons of crude oil a year, over 3% of Russia's entire refining capacity, and turns it into gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and bitumen. It doesn't just fill up cars, it feeds airfields. It supplies military units across Russia's central and southern military districts. In plain terms, some of the same jets dropping guided bombs on Ukrainian cities are running, at least in part, on fuel that came out of this plant. Ukraine hit it in mid-July, on the night of the 11th into the 12th. Analysts who reviewed the footage afterward assessed that the fire reached every primary crude processing unit in the facility. That's not a scratch. That's the kind of damage that takes weeks, sometimes months, to repair, and it forces a refinery to stop processing entirely while crews work to get even partial capacity back online. Syzran did what refineries do. It rebuilt. Crews worked through the damage, brought systems back online, and the plant resumed operations. Then, on the night of August 3rd into the 4th, less than a month after the first strike, drones came back. A regional alert went out just after 1 in the morning. Residents in the city heard explosions. Within minutes, witnesses were filming a column of black smoke rising over the plant again. The same plant, the same fire, almost the exact same spot on the map. Militorny, the Ukrainian outlet that specializes in geolocating this kind of footage, matched the smoke to the refinery grounds within hours. Governor Vyacheslav Fedorishev of Samara Oblast confirmed a fire was being extinguished at the site, though, as usual, Russian officials offered no further detail about the scale of the damage. That same night, on the other side of the country, Nizhny Novgorod Oblast reported explosions too. Residents in the town of Kostovo, home to a Lukoil refinery roughly 800 kilometers from Ukraine, said they heard blasts and saw fire. What exactly got hit there is still murky. Astra, a Russian independent outlet, reported the incident but couldn't confirm the precise target. But the pattern is getting hard to ignore. In a single night, Ukraine appears to have reached 4 separate Russian regions, hitting fuel infrastructure and logistics hubs almost simultaneously, hundreds of kilometers apart, without a single crewed aircraft crossing the border. Russia's Ministry of Defense did respond, in its own way. It claimed its air defense and electronic warfare systems intercepted or destroyed 320 Ukrainian fixed-wing drones over the same 8-hour window that night, between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m., with activity detected over 18 Russian regions, plus occupied Crimea. 320 drones in one night is, by any measure, a staggering number, and it tells you 2 things at once. First, that Ukraine's ability to build and launch long-range drones at scale is no longer a developing capability. It's operational, repeatable, and apparently large enough to saturate air defenses across almost a fifth of Russia's regions at the same time. Second, that even by Russia's own count, of everything that got through, at least 2 major fuel and logistics sites still burned. If the intercept numbers are accurate, then what got through wasn't luck. It was the leftovers of a system that simply can't cover everything, everywhere, all at once, not when the targets are spread from St. Petersburg to Samara in a single coordinated push. Here's what makes this campaign different from the drone strikes people got used to over the past couple of years. This isn't Ukraine lobbing occasional long-range shots at a border refinery to make headlines. This is a target list, a real one, built and executed methodically, region by region, warehouse by warehouse, refinery by refinery, with a named commander willing to put his name and call sign on it. And it raises an uncomfortable question for anyone sitting in a similar facility anywhere else in Russia tonight. If a shopping warehouse in a Moscow suburb and a jet fuel refinery 800 kilometers from the border are both burning in the same week, what's actually off the list? Wildberries has publicly called the strikes on its property acts of terrorism. That's one way to frame it. Ukraine's framing is different, that if a facility is quietly moving military cargo behind a civilian logo, the logo doesn't buy it protection. Somewhere between those two positions is the reality on the ground. 15 warehouses hit in 3 weeks, a strategic refinery struck twice in under a month, and a Ukrainian drone force that just proved it can reach deep into Russian territory on a schedule of its own choosing, not Moscow's. The refinery will probably rebuild again. It did last time. But rebuilding takes fuel, money, and time. Russia's military logistics network may not have to spare indefinitely, especially if this is week 3 of a campaign, not the end of it. None of this happened overnight, and it's worth backing up to see the shape of the campaign, because a single strike is a headline, but 15 strikes over 3 weeks is a strategy. The first hit on a Wildberries facility in this recent wave landed in Vladimir Oblast, along with a strike the same night on Belgorod State Technological University, a school Ukrainian intelligence says has been used to develop and test drones for Russia's own military. 2 very different kinds of targets, same night, same message. Anything tied to the war machine is fair game, whether it wears a lab coat or a delivery uniform. From there, the pace picked up. Chekhov in Moscow Oblast, Krasny Bor outside St. Petersburg, another hub near Tver. A missed attempt on a second Moscow region facility where the drones reportedly went off target, a reminder that even a campaign this coordinated isn't hitting everything it aims at. Somewhere in the middle of all this, the Syzran refinery took its first hit in July, went dark, came back online, and then took its second hit in August. By the time you add it all up, Ukrainian officials are describing a Russia-wide push that reached 18 regions in a single night at its peak, with a claimed 320 drones intercepted or shot down, and that's just the ones Russia says it caught. There's a wrinkle here too, and it's the kind of detail that makes people in neighboring countries nervous. A few days before this latest wave of strikes, wreckage from a Russian Garan 2 attack drone, not a Ukrainian one, a Russian one, turned up near the village of Volhyni in southern Moldova, close to the Ukrainian border. Moldovan authorities opened a forensic investigation into how it got there. It's a small footnote next to a burning refinery, but it says something important. This war has stopped respecting the neat lines on a map a long time ago. Drones from both sides are drifting, crashing, and landing in places that have nothing to do with the war, and everyone downstream of the fighting, Moldova, Poland, Romania, knows it. Back on the Russian side, the response to all this hasn't been to fortify these sites so much as to complain about them. Wildberries has publicly called the strikes acts of terrorism, which is a strong choice of words for a country that, the same week, launched 28 missiles at Ukraine and killed civilians in their homes in Kiev Oblast. Regional governors have mostly stuck to short, clipped statements. A fire is being extinguished. Drone activity was recorded, the kind of language designed to say something happened without saying how bad it actually was. Compare that to Brovdy's approach, which is the opposite. Name the target, explain the reasoning, put your call sign on it, and let the map speak for itself. That contrast is part of why this story travels. It's not just fire and smoke footage. Plenty of strikes produce that. It's the fact that one side is narrating a methodical campaign in public, target by target, while the other side is trying to manage the story, one vague press release at a time. When your enemy is confident enough to explain the plan out loud, that's usually a sign the plan is working. So the real question isn't whether Syzran comes back online. It probably will. The question is what target number 16 looks like, and whether anyone in Russia will see it coming before the smoke does. If you want to see exactly where these strikes hit and what target might come next, stick around. We're about to walk through the map together, and if this kind of deep dive breakdown is your thing, you know what to do. Hit like, drop a comment with what you think gets hit next, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.